Hi, this is Gracie from Graciellie Design, bringing you today a free coloring class featuring our new festive pear illustration from the Celebrate the Season digital stamp set, which is available right now for instant download over at gracielliedesign.shop. Today I'll show you how to achieve this semi-realistic watercolor look. I'm using Canson Mixed Media paper and I'm using a laser printer which prints in toner. Toner will resist any amounts of watercolors and water you add to your image very well. Now, for the coloring itself, I'm using a wet-on-wet technique, which means that I added water to the entire area of the pear first and then I came in with the colors. I'm using shades of yellow, oranges, and also green, and I'm working with those three hues to add texture, shades, and lights, but I'm also trying to let the center of the image as light as possible, even white, so that I can keep that as the light for the pear, and add some volume also to the illustration. You'll see me pick color from the center of the pear using a paper towel, and I'm gonna do that several times during the process. Watercolors are very forgiving and you have to use that to your advantage. Now you'll see me adding texture to the pear, but this is still my first layer, so I'm gonna come back to it later. Another tip is try not to be so harsh with your coloring. Don't go in with your darkest shades or your shadows right away. Try to work in layers. So go in first with your lighter hues and come back later, little by little, adding your shadows. That way you make sure that you are able to correct your coloring as you go. As the pear coloring is drying, I'm gonna go in and work on the leaves. For the leaves, I'm using a lighter green and then a darker shade, or a medium shade, I'd say, so that I can add a first little wash of color. And then I'm gonna be adding some loose watercoloring with a darker shade, and then even adding some shadows to half of the leaves, using a reference as in nature where half of the leaf is darker and then the other half is lighter where the light is hitting. And also with the leaves, I'm gonna have to come back later with even a darker shade of green to add even more shadows. I'll also be using yellow for the leaves because yellow will add touches of light. And in the very end, you'll even see me using some burnt sienna, which is sort of an orangey brown. And that is gonna work so well for shadows and also texture in the entire image. Now I'm coming back to the pear and I'm working with some shadows and shading on the edges of that pear, and also again retouching the center, which is where I'm having the most trouble with, not because I don't know what I want to do there, but because I'm trying to decide how light or how dark I want those lights to be. And that is the great thing about watercolors. It's actually my favorite part about watercolors. It's that there's never a mistake. You can always correct or work around your watercoloring. Now, I'm going in between the pear and the leaves. Here is where I go back to the leaves and add some lights and also darker shades of green for shadows. I'm gonna be using some burnt sienna as well for those berries you see there on the illustration. The burnt sienna is sort of a darker brownish orange, goes so well with the fall theme, and the video doesn't do it justice, to be honest. But this burnt sienna is almost what ties everything in the image today. Now I'm gonna work with the ribbon. I'm also adding burnt sienna to the ribbon at first, and then I'm gonna be picking up some red to darken the shadows. This illustration has some lines wherever you have to add a darker hue. That is a reference for your coloring. It makes it easier for you to figure out where your lights and shadows go. So I'm mixing First I did a wash of burnt sienna, and then I came in with more burnt sienna and some red to make those corners a little darker. Just make sure that the areas of the ribbon that are curvy, right, those are the ones that you should accentuate with the lights, meaning that that's where your lighter hue go. If you were to color that ribbon flat, it wouldn't look quite okay. It's not bad, but it's not as it should be, so to speak. Remember that when ribbon swirls, the light hits on it, and that's where you have to take advantage of your coloring to add some spots of light where the ribbon curves. Now, I'm gonna go back in with some more burnt sienna, this time to add some shadows on the pear for those branches that are falling over the pear. And I'm trying to blend that shadow so it doesn't look so harsh, but it's there, you can see it. The burnt sienna will blend well with the yellows and oranges we added previously, so it's not too harsh and it will blend easily. I'm gonna go ahead now and add some texture to the pear using the same hue, but this time I'm gonna do some dotting or adding some dots as texture to the actual pear, but I'm trying to add it in layers. So the first dots I'm adding, I'm gonna be using a paper towel to pick up some of that color so that it's sort of transparent. And then I'm gonna come back in with more dots, but that layer is gonna be darker, and that is gonna create dimension and much more interest in the coloring of the pear. This is basically it for what I did here, and I hope it helped you sort of understand how to achieve a semi-realistic watercoloring look for the new festive pear illustration. If you like this, be sure to subscribe to our social media, to our newsletter, because I'll be sharing more of it if you're interested. As a final tip, remember that it's totally okay to use a reference picture for your coloring. Also, watercoloring is very forgiving. Use that in your advantage. Work little by little and layer by layer up until you get the shading that you like. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this free class, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.